Let's talk about Bijan Robinson on today's show. Welcome into Falcons Today by Chat Sports. Matthew Peterson here, kind of breaking down Bijan Robinson for the extent of the show because ESPN had some best fits for the Texas Longhorn running back, and they had the Falcons as one of them. So we're going to break down Robinson and whether or not it makes sense for Atlanta to draft him with their top 10 pick. But first, we are coming close to passing Seahawks today and Giants now in subscribers this week. It's the end of the sub battle. A good last push could get us all the way to the front right before the final whistle. So make sure to subscribe if you have not already. Now, let's talk about Bijan Robinson and whether or not it makes sense for Atlanta to invest a very coveted top 10 pick on the running back, because the fun thing to say right now is don't pay a running back. Don't draft a running back in the first round. You can get a good cheap one later on. That's more or less true. Example is Tyler Algier. But Robinson, he might be the exception. Now, first, let's look and see what Matt Bowen from ESPN said about Robinson going to Atlanta potentially. Why he fits. Robinson is one of the best overall prospects in the 2023 class. And I wouldn't argue if some teams had him graded as their number one guy on the board based on his outstanding tape. We know he doesn't play a premium position in terms of draft value, so it's still very much up in the air where he actually gets picked. And maybe number 8 ends up being too high. But I really like the fit for Robinson as the lead back in Arthur Smith's offense. So there's a lot of good points that he raises there. One, we know Arthur Smith likes his running backs. He wants to run the football, and Robinson would come in and get a lot of usage. So if you're picking a guy at number 8, hopefully you give him the football a ton. Sorry for the screaming in the background. It's our Saints guy. He thinks every day is Mardi Gras. Now, anywho, as for an 8th overall pick on a running back in 2023, that could get you fired for Terry Fontenot if it's not an immediate hit in success and people look back and go, that's why you don't draft a running back in the first round, right? Look at Leonard Fournette. Didn't work out. Christian McCaffrey was traded. Saquon Barkley had some downtime. Better off using that pick on a different player and going running back in rounds 2 or 3. And I don't think they're necessarily wrong. Let's look at what Matt Bowen said. I see him as an all-purpose playmaker, a prospect who can produce in any game situation. Simply put, he has all the traits, and it showed in his 1,580 rushing yards and 18 touchdowns on the ground last season at Texas. No other team ran as much as the Falcons last season, 51.1% of offensive plays. So Robinson would see consistent volume in their zone blocking schemes while also upgrading the pass game for second-year quarterback Desmond Ridder as a versatile target. Bijan Robinson would be a very interesting pick, to say the least, right? On one hand, you're getting what looks to be a surefire running back. I don't want to call him the next Derrick Henry because they're not the same type of running back, but maybe the same type of safe play. Now, Henry, oddly enough, was a second-round pick, but maybe this is the running back that breaks the rule, right? That's the exception. That's going to actually produce on his second contract and not just be good for the first 4 or 5 years of his contract. You dump him, you draft a new running back, and you move on. Robinson, the last 2 seasons at Texas, where he started over 3 seasons for the Longhorns, extremely productive. I don't think I'm telling anyone for the first time that Bijan Robinson is a very good football player. He averaged 6 yards a carry last year. And that wasn't like a scat back type of fluke where he didn't have a ton of carries. He had 258, and he averaged 6 a pop. That is simply unheard of. So be the GM. Would you draft Bijan Robinson? D for draft or P for pass? Atlanta's got some bigger needs than running back. Algier can get the job done. CP84 can get the job done this year. But are you passing on a generational talent at running back? Maybe. And maybe you'll look back and go, we didn't need Robinson necessarily in 2023, but how could we pass on someone who might be the next all-pro running back for 4 or 5 straight seasons? Now, let's look at Robinson's combine notes here. 5'11", 215 pounds. If you're building a running back in Madden, you're not going to be far off from that. You don't want to be too high because then he's easy to spot in the backfield. But you don't want to be too low and don't have the power to run through players. 4.46 40, not blazing speed, but he plays and looks a lot faster with pads on. The vertical jump, the broad jump, all that's good stuff. I mean, I've never seen a running back have to do a vertical jump in the NFL before, but the longer the better. Now, his RAS score, filled with green, not a dot of red on that score. So overall, athletic-wise, he tests out nearly perfect. So he continues to check box after box. Now, if we're going to do some pros on Bijan, the first one is elite footwork. The guy just has a knack for breaking linebackers' ankles and jumping and popping out of holes and then finding a new lane to run through. He's also a 3-down back. He does everything you need. He literally is a perfect mold for a running back if you're building one from scratch. He's got fantastic vision. Throw on his tape, he's patient in the backfield, he finds the right hole, and he bursts through it. And that kind of leads me to number 4. He finishes runs with authority. He is a power back and a speed back all at the same time. You know how we love to say, oh, thunder and lightning, a great combination. He's thunder and lightning together. That's who Bijan Robinson is. And he's a very good pass catcher as well. He works out of the backfield. He can block. He can do great things through the air. I mean, look at his career receiving stats in 3 years at Texas. 805 yards and 8 touchdowns. He can be a dump-off target. That's where the three-down player comes in. You do not have to take him off the field on 3rd and 12 because he's not a good receiving threat. No, he does literally everything you could ask for. Now, before we get to the rest of today's show, if you're looking for the Falcons 2023 NFL Draft hats, get yours today at chatsports.com/ATL hat. Rep the same hat that maybe Bijan Robinson could be sporting if he's picked 8th overall by Atlanta. Use that link. It's in the comments and the description of today's video. Now, some cons, unfortunately, for Bijan Robinson. If you're really getting nitpicky here, these are good cons to have if you're looking for cons, right? Not to go Michael Scott mode when he's talking to David Wallace, but pass protection duties, maybe he doesn't pick up blitzes all that well. But you know what? That's fine. That's what running back coaches are for. That's what you pay NFL coaches to teach. He needs to have a plant and go mentality. I've seen that tossed around by some of the big draft gurus. Okay, maybe he needs to find some times when just pick a lane and burst through it. But you know what? He's also pretty good at ad-libbing and when things don't go to plan. His quicken operation time against speedy NFL. So he's the quickest operation time against speedy NFL players. So this is often something we see for college players going to the pros is, well, we don't want to find someone that's just too reliant on their athleticism because when they get to the NFL, they're going to discover everyone's fast. So you can't just run past West Virginia defensive ends without a plan. He needs to get his operation time down better when he's going up against very fast defenders at the pro level. So Bijan Robinson is an outstanding player, an athlete. We know all this, but I don't think it ultimately makes sense for Atlanta in 2023. And maybe I'm going to eat my words and I'll regret this down the line, but the Falcons aren't one running back away from making a lot of noise next year. Am I wrong? They've got a good running back core as it is right now. I like Algier. I like Cordero Patterson. Heck, even Caleb Huntley as an RB3 is pretty good by most league measures. So if they want to run the football, they've got good running backs to run the football. That's not the issue. Is Robinson an upgrade? Absolutely. Is he a future 8-year back for your team? Very likely is, kind of like Henry. But is he what you need to be successful in 2023 and moving forward? That's the question. Now, a personnel exec for an NFC team said this on Bijan Robinson. He has to eat. The more carries he gets, the more damage he does. I know it's not popular, but I would draft him in the first round and just get him to rock as much as I possibly could. He's a much tougher runner than Saquon was coming out. So if Barkley went, second overall back then? curious to see what Robinson could get in this upcoming draft, right? People have mocked him all over the place, from one of the last picks in the draft to the Eagles as soon as number 10 overall. I don't know if, well, who knows? Maybe letting him eat is the right plan of action for him in 2023, wherever he ends up. So grade Bijan Robinson as a prospect. Scale it 1 to 100. I don't want to give out 100 because no one's 100 really, but he's darn close to it. I'm not going to lie. He might be the best overall player outside of like Jalen Carter and Will Anderson in this draft class. He just plays a position that has proven to be easily replaceable and not worthy of a big investment in an early first-round pick. For me, it just doesn't make sense for the Falcons right now because of how badly they need a pass rusher. I feel like if they draft Bijan Robinson in 2 or 3 years, we're just going to be saying, well, too bad the Falcons wasted Bijan Robinson. He's a great player, but their defense is awful and they can't win games, and he won't be on this team for long, right? Bijan Robinson makes sense for a lot of teams that maybe just want to go over the top because they can, like the Eagles or the Bills or even the Chiefs, for example. But for Atlanta, if they want to start building and constructing a winning football team, you got to attack your biggest weakness, which is right now defense, specifically pass rushers. Insert Tyree Wilson, Lucas Van Ness, or Nolan Smith, or even building a cornerback duo for the ages with Christian Gonzalez and A.J. Terrell, making it a no-fly zone against the garbage NFC South quarterbacks that are currently there. So Falcons fans need more, the Falcons need more defensive help right now to help Falcons fans have better Sundays. So Bijan Robinson would be a lot of fun, and you'd probably end up putting up 30 points per game, but you'd give up 35 points per game. So if that's what you want, not a bad plan. But if you want to win games 24-20, well, maybe going defense is the better route. That's it for today's show. Make sure to subscribe if you enjoyed today's video and you want more Falcons draft content as we get closer and closer to the 2023 NFL Draft.